Today I am sitting down with Lincoln Rogers. He is the CEO of Kingdom & Co. We're going to talk about construction, the construction process, renovations, additions to your home, as well as leadership, fatherhood, and even faith. So stay tuned and you're going to love this episode. Hola, I am your host, Stephanie McGowan, and this is The Foundry. So I am very excited to be sitting here with you. I was looking forward so much to this interview because I met you, I think it was last year. Our team went to your studio, which is stunning. And I fell in love with what you do. But I was doing my research and I learned so much about your business. And I didn't know that it was your company. You founded yourself, right?
Correct.
It was like family owned, or you were like the one that started?
So it was me and my friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did it start?
So Kingdom & Co. started, it's a funny story. Most people don't know this story. So in my backyard, I own an acre up in like by Floydland Park. We started doing these indoor farms. We're like, let's build some indoor farms. So we got these shipping containers and we started building them together. My buddy Brian from high school, he was helping me out, and my buddy Brian was so good at what he was doing, and I'm looking at him like, why is this guy? Because he was working for like the government at the time, and I looked at him like, why are you working for the government when you're this talented? Like, this makes no sense. And at the time, we were buying houses and flipping them, and so long story short, I'm like, hey, try working on a house with me on one of these, just because I needed some help. And then he did an even better job there, and I'm like, and then finally I'm like, hey Brian, you should start teaming up with us, and doing some investments with us. And he's like, well, I would love to do that. So he kind of like was kind of hesitantly going into this stuff, and we knew a lot about investing, but we didn't know a lot about construction. And then so Brian, my business partner, ended up just surprising us so much, and all of a sudden it turned into, I was at a birthday party, and some friend was like, hey, can you guys do my own house? And I'm like, well, we've never done it at somebody else's house before. So we did their house. And then that person told that person, and we didn't even want to start this construction company. It sounds so funny. It just started on its own. Like the world needed it, and so we just gave it to it. And so what ended up happening was the company, Kingdom & Company, blew up. It got crazy, and it got super busy. And so long story short, it started off with doing indoor farming and growing basil leaves and growing like just different like microgreens and things like that, to all of a sudden turning into this legit design build company that I joke around it, like the people chose us, we didn't choose them type of thing. And now it's turned into this awesome company that I'm super proud of, just because what Brian and I and Zion have built has just been, it's amazing. I was telling this to my team the other day. I'm like, we were looking at, because you're so busy going through the grind of construction and the challenges that come with it, that suddenly you start looking around. I'm like, and I looked at our website the other day. I'm like, sometimes you forget the work that we do is just incredible. The team, the design, the quality, it really is beautiful product. That's something that we're really proud of, and sometimes it's hard to remember that because you're just so in the grind of things. So. Yeah,
something that I was looking at your website that I love, that you normally don't see, and I wanted to ask you, is that in your website, you show every single person literally that works for you, anywhere from construction to like front desk. So what was the thought behind it? Because after doing the like reading about you and your website, what I am noticing is like you are like very like familiar.
Yes. Our goal is we want the community to understand that we are a team and a family. We, like, when they're hiring Kingdom & Company, we want them to know who they're hiring. We don't want, and a lot of those people that are with us on the website, they've been with us for 7 years, and so it's really neat. We want everybody to understand who our company is, and we want their people, like when they go on the website and they look through everything, they can see familiar faces, and they can see that we have a good team that they can trust. We don't have a bunch of criminals working for us. So
that's awesome. I was reading that you have like the eyes of your mom's in design, but also your dad has a background in like construction. So Kingdom & Co. started as a interior design company. Is that correct?
No, it's actually opposite. So what ended up happening was, and it's funny that you asked a good question. So I always laugh about it because my mom loved design growing up, and my dad did construction. And of course, when you're a kid, you're like, I'm never going to be like my parents. And now I end up being just like both of my parents. Now I'm obsessed with design, and I love the construction aspect of things just because I'm proud of what we do. But to answer your question, the way Kingdom & Co. started was we were just a construction company at first.
Okay.
But the struggles that we were having with interior designers, lots of times interior designers will give you information that's really pretty, but when it's technical and when there's dimensions that you need and when there's specifics that you need, it's really hard because then what ends up happening if you don't have the right team, then what happens is the designer throws you under the bus. Well, they should have known this, and then we're like, well, you didn't give us the right plans, and then you have two people basically arguing with each other in front of the client, and it gives the client a terrible experience because they're like, they want everybody to be on the same page with everybody.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was we said, instead of having to rely on other designers and waiting on their timelines and waiting for them to get back to us, we had decided, if we started our own design team and we were able to basically combine the construction design together so that everybody was on the same page. Whenever there were struggles, we're on the same page and working with it together, not pointing fingers. And more importantly, our designers, we were able to train on how to think more construction-minded when it comes to the technicalities of the plans, but still have the beauty of the artistry, So those things, so we were able to basically create a design build firm towards a one-stop shop. We're able to get prices lower than most people and really give them an experience and a quality that is higher above everybody else. So
I was going to ask you about that because I keep seeing on your website that you pride yourself in try to save your client as much money as possible. So how do you make that possible?
Yeah, so for us, it's important. I mean, obviously everybody needs to make money, but our numbers are the same every single time. Our markups are the same every time. We don't mark it up just because a client says, hey, I have a budget of $1 million. We're not going to just go, we're going to charge $1 million. It's more of understanding where they're coming from so we can design around their budget.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where I'll talk people out of, for example, there's one client that wanted to put a bathroom downstairs, and I have a lot of realtor friends, and knowing that bathroom downstairs really didn't matter when it came to the value of the property, but it would have cost a lot of money because there was no plumbing on that side of the house. Mm-hmm. And so instead of they wanted to, it was going to cost about $70,000 to bring a bathroom because they would have to do all underground plumbing and tons of work. So instead of doing that, I said, hey, instead of doing that, and why don't we take that budget that you had and they wanted to do like a wine cellar and a stair railing and do all these really pretty things at the front of their house in the entryway. I said, rather than building a bathroom that's not going to give you a lot of value, why don't we put it somewhere that's going to give you a ton of value? So just talking people out of things that don't bring value to a home. In my DNA, it's because I used to be an investor, it's really important for me to add value to the clients and not just let them spend a ton of money on things that don't make sense. Now, if the client wants to do it, then that's fine. But our goal is to try to make sure that when they put money into their home, it's where it brings a lot of value so that they don't feel like it's more of an investment than it is just to update their house, if that makes sense.
If a client has a fixed budget, mm-hmm. where do you think they should invest most of their budget and the money? That way it raises the equity of the house.
Right. So it all starts with first what their priorities are, and typically 99% of our clients need new flooring, need new kitchens, want a wall knocked down, want their primary bathroom completed. So when we're able to guide them through those things, those are the most important things that add value.
Yeah.
And so that's what we'll guide them towards is those main topics. So it's mainly kitchen, flooring, maybe opening up a wall because everything feels super cramped, or if it's a primary bathroom, and we'll guide them along the way. We'll explain to them, hey, if you want to put the shower on the other side of the bathroom, then it's going to cost a lot more than just keeping it where it's at now and just knocking down this wall over here and making it bigger. And we're able to really help them design things to where it's budget friendly and it makes more sense.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about, you do everything in-house. You do cabinetry, windows, everything in-house. How do you were able to make that happen? What was the thing that say, hey, we need to control everything from the start to the end process?
So lots of times what happened was, to go back a little bit. So the things that we do in-house, we do most of the things in-house. And that's we do like you said, the windows, the cabinetry, the carpentry, things like that. We don't do drywall and paint ourselves, but we do a lot. So the big things, the big ticket items we do ourselves because, and we didn't even want to do this, but the problem was the timelines and the prices were so expensive for our clients that our goal was, well, if we can get the prices down in-house, then our clients can do more, And so that was the idea behind it is can we give them a high quality product for less money? And that was the ultimate goal, and that's what we were able to accomplish. So with cabinetry, we were able to get the pricing lower and get really good cabinet, because we do so many cabinets, or glass, for instance, being able to get the glass. We were able to go directly to the factories and get the glass ourselves and install them ourselves so that we can get the prices way lower. So that way the clients can get way more bang for buck.
Yeah.
That's kind of the goal for it. That's the reason why we did it in the first place.
That's awesome because everybody loves to save money.
Yes. And saving money is good. And it's not, and it's, again, it comes down to, sometimes I'll look at the prices of construction because they've gone up a lot in the last 5 years and it blows my mind. And so we're always trying to find ways to bring the cost down to our clients and still, because I tell everybody, I have nothing to hide. Our margins, my net profit, if we're doing really well on our projects, between 8 to 10%. That's our margins. Like, we're not making a ton of money on these projects. It's just construction's expensive.
Yeah. How you are able to control like the budget or make sure, like if a client is starting a project, like how you're able to control to whatever the price you both agree, it doesn't change.
Right, and that's a good question. And a lot of times it does change, and it all depends on. Sometimes we'll do a guesstimate, we call them, at the very beginning of a project, and sometimes we're off. Sometimes we've been off, sometimes 20%, which sometimes is unfortunate. But what we end up doing is we'll redesign it, and we'll do it in phases, or sometimes what we'll do is we'll make sure that the clients understand. Like it's one of those things where we explain until we know exactly what we're picking out. Like a lot of times clients are like, well, I really want that tile. And you're like, that tile is $80 a square foot. It's like, I still want it. And you're like, that's going to push us over budget. I don't care. I still want it. And then you end up going over budget, $5-6 grand. And they're like, wait a minute, why are we over budget? And you're like, well, remember we explained to you that tile is way more expensive than we originally quoted you for, because we didn't know you were selecting this really expensive tile. So one of the ways that we really guide our clients and help out is we take their budget, and because our team is so experienced, the designers and our construction team can go, okay, the way we can do this, if we build this frame out, if we frame it out this way instead of this way, we can save money here. We can do this, let's use this material instead of this material. And then what they'll end up doing is still making it beautiful, but able to build it within the budget. And that's what a professional team will do. I had actually a really good question from a client the other day that I thought was awesome. They said, what makes the difference between an expensive contractor and a cheap contractor? And I had thought about that for a second. I said, here's the answer. They're all going to end up being about the same cost. One just knows their numbers and the other one doesn't, So lots of times these contractors that will underestimate things, they do it on purpose a lot of times so that they can change order you and make money. But once the thing is they'll handcuff you because they'll say, hey, it's going to be, let's say, hey, my price was $150,000, but their price is $100,000, right? This is really good for your audience to hear this. So what will happen is okay, that's cheaper. So in your mind,
yeah, you go with that person.
I'm going to go with the cheaper guy, right? And what ends up happening is you end up spending $160,000 with that guy because he didn't go through the plans and estimate everything out perfectly the way it was supposed to be. They missed a bunch of things. But by contract, hey, I didn't see that. I didn't charge you for that. But at that point, you're already handcuffed. You've already demoed the house. You've already paid him halfway through. And now he's change ordering you. And you're like, wait a minute. I thought this was going to be $100,000. Well, now you're at $160,000. Now the timelines are being pushed, and now the quality sucks. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I should have went with the guy that was more expensive.
Yeah.
So the difference really comes down to is usually the expensive guys usually know their numbers better and making sure that they're a really quality contractor. So there's a few of them out there that are really good quality contractors besides us. And if you just interview them and you talk to them and you ask the right questions, then at that point you'll know who are the good ones and who are the bad ones.
So what are the red flags when hiring like a contractor? Like, for example, if somebody is deciding in between contractors, like, hey, I should go with this person because, like, outside of price.
Great, you have really good questions. That's a really good question. So, red flags. If I was hiring a contractor and I was interviewing them, and the guy came up and he seemed disorganized, he wasn't writing down the notes when you're talking to him, and you're asking questions and everything's vague. Oh yeah, we can handle that. Oh yeah, and he's just a yes man. Like, yeah, we can do that. And then you're like, well, hey, my other contractor was $150,000. He's like, oh, I can do it for $100,000. And they don't have the data. They're not breaking down the scope, like specifically exactly what everything's going through. They're not attention to detail people. You'll know exactly just by looking at the bid. If it's super detailed, written out, all the dimensions are there, you'll know, okay, this guy's paying attention to detail.
He knows.
He knows. Where if the other guy just gives you vague numbers, vague scopes, that's just a recipe for disaster, because what ends up happening is you end up having a guy who's doing the construction, the man who's trying to build it out, or the woman, they're trying to build this out and there's no details. So then there's confusion. And then what happens is it pushes out timelines, lots of questions, lots of change orders, and suddenly you're way over budget and your experience is terrible. And then you end up hating your contractor. So that's the red flags are just, to me, like just interviewing them and asking the right questions. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. You keep bringing up change orders.
Yes.
I am really saying I know what a change order is, but for our listeners, what is a change orders and how can you avoid them through like the construction?
It's one of the hardest things in construction is that, and the way you avoid it is by slowing down to speed up. So making sure your interior designer, your architect, and your contractor are all on the same page. And that's why for us, having everyone in-house in the same meetings, they're able to catch all the details. So a change order happens when, let's say I give a bid for, hey, I'm going to remodel your house for $200,000, let's say. And I miss like 15 to 20 things in there. Oh yeah, I forgot that we were supposed to knock down that wall. I didn't put it in the scope. So now I'm gonna have to change order you for that. Or I didn't realize that there's gonna be electrical in the way. Or I didn't realize that we forgot to put the cabinets on this in this room on the bid. And suddenly you're like, well, I just expected you I expect you to know that. And you're like, well, no, but I didn't charge you for that. So now I can legally charge you a change order. And then they have the choice of, hey, I don't have to do it for you, or I have to do it, but I'm now going to charge you more money for it. And most contractors mark up their change orders more than a regular markup. And so what happens is you end up paying way more money, and there's a lot more delays. So
how are you able to inflate, like how a contractor can inflate the change order? Like how do they justify the huge like increasement other than another contractor?
Great question. Now that's why there's two things here I want to emphasize. One would be, to answer your question there, they can do it because let's say a client, this is a normal change order. Let's say a client decides, hey, you know what? I actually do want to add this extra bathroom now. Mm-hmm. Then what ends up happening is now you have to go back to the plans, back to the designer, and then you have to add all the things after it's already ongoing. It causes delays in the project. So they can technically say, yeah, it's going to cost me a lot more money because now our progress and our timelines are all getting pushed. Now we have to hold up some subcontractors. It really messes up everything. And so there's a reason for change orders for sure that they charge more money. That's justified. But what's even worse though is when a contractor doesn't do their due diligence, is sloppy, not writing down all the details and scopes, and changes order you because they just want to, because that's how they make most of their money. That's usually when it gets really sticky, and that's when you have a bad experience with the contractor. And that happens a lot. I cannot tell you how many times a contractor will undercut us, and then we have clients who will call us in the middle of the project. They'll fire their contractor and say, we want you back. Or the project finally finishes out and they're like, we should have gotten with you guys. They were 50 grand over and we had a horrific experience.
And they end up spending more money.
They end up spending more money, yeah.
So how is your process? Like, for example, in order to avoid like a change order, like if a client wants to work with you, how is the process like from beginning to end? What they should expect?
Yeah, great question. So the process is very simplistic. First, it's with our design team, and they're assigned with we call them a product director. So a guy who understands construction. So the designer and the product director will work together to first get the design going and understanding the scope and writing down all the details and hopefully ballparking almost exactly how much it's going to cost to get the job done. And then what they'll do from there is after they get done with the design, they'll meet with the client and they'll say, hey, here's the design. Do you like everything? And they're saying, yeah, we love everything. Then that goes into estimating. So then what we'll do is we'll go through every detail, all the scopes, all the measurements, every little thing, and we'll get them a really accurate estimate. We'll have the client review it, our designers review it, our construction guys review it. So there's like 3 or 4 people double, triple checking things. And things still get missed. I mean, it's construction, so nothing's perfect, but you're getting there 95% of the time, 95% of the way, or even 98% of the way there, where most guys are 75% of the way there, And so basically what they do is, it goes from design, then it goes into estimating. Once estimating is done, and once we get the final number, and if the number makes sense and everybody's happy with the final number, then what we do then is we go into the construction phase, and that's usually when it goes super quick because we've done so much work in the pre-construction phase that the construction just goes super fast.
Question.
Yeah.
If a client has a designer that they like to work with and they just want to hire you for the building process, are they able to do that?
Yeah.
And do you think they are going to get the same? Like they're going to spend the same amount of like doing it like separate, they're doing it together,
Great.
all in-house?
No, that's absolutely good question. It just depends on the designer, right? Because not all designers are created equal, So if it's a really good designer, that's a good communicator and a team player, absolutely. We work with outside designers all the time. But we have a rule when we work with these interior designers that they have to go through our process, because when we go through our process, the designer will ask the designer to give us a lot more information than most designers are used to giving. You know, we want to know the thickness of the countertops, the edges of the countertops. We want all those details plugged in so that when we get a bid and estimate, it's accurate for our clients. Because what I don't want to do is have a countertop, you know, installer go, wait a minute, we didn't know that was going to be the edges, so that's going to be more money. Oh, we didn't know that you were going to do this. Or hey, wait, you want the tile to be penny tile? Well, we didn't know that you were going to do that. So now it's going to be additional cost to your clients. And so what we like to do is get all that information from the very start, so that way we can vet it and make sure that the estimates are being done correctly. So as long as the designers are willing to work with us and slow down to speed up and get all those details and design materials and everything just really dialed in, then at that point we just take off with it and we just knock it out of the park for them. So the answer is yes, as long as the designers are willing to play, be a team player.
Absolutely. Sure. Like, it's everything about like working together at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So do you design, are you focused, I just wanted to learn more about your business. Like, you guys are only focusing doing renovations, or you do also like new construction, additions to the home?
Yeah, great question. So what we do as a company is we do three things. We do, first, new builds is very important. We've done a lot of new builds, and we're doing some really fun projects up in MacDonald Highlands. So we're building a $10 million home up there right now. We're building 2 in Ascaya, and we've got a couple custom homes in the Northwest, like Low Mountain area. So we have about 6 ongoing new build projects that they all range between $2 million to $10 million, depending on the project at the moment. So we do these really nice, beautiful custom homes, but we also do high-end luxury remodels. So we like to do and a lot of our projects are typically in Summerlin or Henderson or in specific areas, in the Rancho Circle area. So we do high-end remodels, we do new builds, and then we like to do additions as well. So like if people need to do an addition to their house, we do a lot of like people want to fill in their loft and things like that. We do those type of things. What we don't do is small projects. We don't like to do, hey, I just want to do one little bathroom. We'll do that for former clients.
Yeah.
We'll do it for a client that's hey, we're going to do a smaller bathroom right now, but we're looking forward to doing our big remodel in 6 months. We'll do those type of things, but we don't like to go in there and do a small project just because of the amount of energy we spend on every project.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people don't realize how much money and time is spent before we even start the project. And so if we have a little project and we have 6 people working on it beforehand, it ends up costing too much for the clients.
In regards of building a custom homes, with buying a lot, it can be very tricky and more for luxury clients.
Yes.
Do you go to the lot with the client to make sure what they are having in mind, like they can fit it into the lot and make sure they don't lose any money? Because I have met people that buy, specifically in Ascaya, that they think they can build in a specific type of home.
Right.
And they purchase the lot, and by the time that they go to start building, they cannot do that.
It's too late, yeah.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot. So yeah, it's very important for us. So lots of times this is why we like working with realtors, because we work with a lot of realtors. Most of our referrals come from realtors, and especially our new builds as well. So what we'll do is the client will get it in contract typically, and then once it's in contract, they'll meet with us and we'll go through a lot of those type of questions. So we'll ask them questions like, okay, and because we have so much experience in these neighborhoods, we'll ask, what kind of design style are you planning on doing? Will it fit within the HOA, requirements, and helping them understand, like, is it a single story, 2-story? Have you thought about the views? Have you thought about, and if they have a really good architect, that architect will help them through that as well. But we really like guiding these clients so I would just recommend, if any realtor is looking for guidance and advice on once their clients are looking at some properties, we can from lots, we can really help them out, because we work with realtors all the time, especially once it gets in contract. Once it gets in contract, then when the due diligence is going on, that's usually when we step in and really sit down and meet with the clients and help them out to make sure they're...
If they don't have an architect, do you guys can help the client design everything? So literally everything?
So what we'll do is we'll have an architect. We have 3 architects that we like to work with. And so what we'll do is we'll basically introduce them to those 3 architects. And then those architects will work with our interior designers. And so we'll refer them to the architects and we'll guide them along the way, just depending on, and everybody has their own personality and their own specifics. So like some of our architects are better designers, or better on some type of homes than others. And so we'll guide them through that process and get them the best architect that fits their needs.
Does Kindle & Co. has like a design type?
Really good question. The answer is yeah. We do every type of design. It's every one of our designers is different. All of our clients want different stuff. Some people want funky stuff. Some people want really bright colors. Some people want the timeless stuff. And some people right now, a real big thing going on right now is like more earthy modern stuff. So
Yeah.
like with the wood tones and the rocks and the
Like natural.
plants.
Yeah.
The natural. So that's been really big recently. And so we do anything and everything. We've done on old world, we've done modern Mediterranean, we've done custom farmhouses and modern farmhouses, and so it doesn't matter to us. We do anything.
Do you also do you build like RVs? Like RV garages? That is something that you guys offer?
Yeah, that would be considered like a type of an addition. So if anybody wanted an RV garage, for sure we build those. We do a lot of casitas too, which is kind of fun.
Based on your experience, because you have a lot of your clients, you have helped them increase their equity
Yes.
in their home by a lot of money.
Yes.
Which everybody like numbers, you know. Based on your opinion, when building an addition to the home, do you think an RV garage increases or like a casita? Where do you think they should put their money?
Really good question. And I think that's a really good one because RV garages are huge right now. And a lot, not even because people want an RV in there. Sometimes they'll put a batting cage in there or a pickleball court inside. And then the casitas are so important right now because there's so many people that have wealth, but they don't want to downsize and give their money to their kids and be around their family more. So I would think either one of those is honestly a slam dunk. And it just depends on it. We always talk about this. It always depends on the neighborhood, right? Because if you're in a community that's only getting about $200 a square foot, then it's probably not the best investment to do that. Now, if you're in like a Summerlin, the Ridges, MacDonald Highlands, or Ascaya, and you want to add some square footage, it ends up costing you $300 to $400 a square foot, but you can sell for $500 to $800 a square foot. Then it's an easy decision because at that point, it really is an investment.
I think you need to be smart when you spend your money and more in those type of neighborhoods. Sometimes a lot of clients and I was talking with one of the persons that we're interviewing for the podcast earlier, that sometimes client spend like a lot of money in things, and sometimes you usually don't get the money in return.
Yes.
Where do you think a lot of clients fall on that? Like where is like smart, like in regards of materials, where should they put their money on that they can still getting a high-end look without costing them a lot of money?
Yeah, that's a good question because it all depends on the area. And it all depends. Like, so if you're going to do a $10 million house, let's say you live in a $5 million home, people who are buying that house can sense and feel and know if you're doing cheap products. If you're putting cheap appliances in the project and things like that, people can sense those things. So to me, all this depends on where you live. If you're living in, let's say you live in a Northwest house that's going for $200 a square foot, then at that point, I wouldn't do these high-end custom cabinets that are walnut and crazy because you're not going to get that value out if you ever want to resell it, unless you just want it because you love it and you're okay with losing that money. But to me, it just all depends on where you live. And that's why it's so important to have somebody be able to guide you on those things, because we have 3 different cabinet lines. We have an RTA line. That's when I say everything that we do is beautiful, but it just depends on cost points. And so if somebody lives in a home that's not as expensive and they want to keep a budget, then we'll guide them on going for the lower cabinet line that's not as expensive but still nice, opposed to doing these high-end custom cabinets that cost a ton of money. And suddenly they're like, wait a minute, does these cabinets cost half as much as my house is worth? And you're like, yeah, we shouldn't have done that,
Yeah.
So we will talk them out of a lot. That's what goes back to, like, we'll talk them out of a lot of things saying, hey, that doesn't fit your budget. Let's not do that. And we'll guide them along the way. But at the end of the day, it's funny because I could show them like our content on our website or even on our Instagram. And you'll say, hey, this was more of the lower end grade of cabinets. And they're like, that looks amazing. And you're like, exactly. A lot of people don't even know this the difference.
Yeah.
So.
I think like they don't know unless you tell them. I feel like nowadays there is a lot of ways that you can get a high-end look without spending
Absolutely
an arm and a leg.
Yeah. And that's what we have to do, is to be a good contractor and a good design team. We have to be able to understand those needs, and we have to be able to, we basically call it, what do you call it? Like budget engineering. We help them budget things and help them keep things. So our goal is to come out at the end of the day. And I always tell my design team hates me for this, but I'm like, guys, at the end of the day, I sincerely care about the before and afters. I'm obsessed with that because it makes me feel good as a contractor. There's nothing better to walk out and be like, look what we just did. So I'm like, we want it to be as beautiful as possible. A lot of contractors I know will just put in crap material, put in crappy thing, crappy design, all because they can get those materials for super cheap. And then, they may make more money, but the client walks out with a way worse product. I'm all about making sure that they get something absolutely beautiful, even if it costs me a little bit more money.
Yeah. And sometimes it has happened a lot. That sometimes you can recognize the contractor because you recognize they're using the same design style, the same materials. So that is very funny.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah,
I can tell too. It drives me nuts. If it's like we use the same white shaker cabinets on every single project, the same quartz countertops, and if you start noticing that the patterns of they're all the same, it's because I'm getting them for cheaper, right? And I'm like, no, that's not who we are. We want every home to be beautiful in their own way, according to what the customers really want. That's the ultimate goal.
That's so awesome. You have done a lot of like exciting projects.
Yes.
Like I am in love with your work. And you did a home for the Property Brothers.
Yeah, we did 7 homes for the Property Brothers.
7.
Yeah, it started with 1. And then what ended up happening was we had such a good relationship with them that they wanted us to do another one and then another one. And then, hey, can you do another one? And we were like, what is going on? So we ended up doing 7, which was one of the hardest times in our career just because of their demands. But they were sincerely some of the nicest guys we've ever worked with. They were so helpful, so kind, so courteous. So those guys showed us the way because we were early in our career. They showed us that you can go fast and still have ultimate quality, which we didn't think was possible. And so now that we know that, as we know that slowing down to speed up to get the design right, but once it's go time, we can really go fast with really high-end quality. And so they were such a great teacher on that stuff. So it was great.
That is so awesome. That is because a lot of I feel like in television, like everything looks like so quick.
Right.
And the US still are able to keep like that, like working in the high pressure, like a speed environment.
Yes.
And apply it to your private clients.
Exactly right. So we just took what we learned from them and we applied it, and it's been amazing. Now, they were having us do like full remodels in 7 weeks. Like, we're not doing that crazy of timelines, but we can beat our competition almost every single time because our timelines were quick. And we're as long as everything's organized and planned out and the permits go through clearly, we can go really quick. And at that point, most importantly than quick though, is the quality is the most important part. Like if I walk into a home and the quality sucks, I'll rip my guys apart and I'll have everybody come back out here and redo things because there's nothing worse than, because I tell people all the time, like, I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. My reputation is so important to me because I want people to, when I die in this life, I want a legacy to be left of like, he did what he said he was going to do. Mm-hmm. He did a good job at it. The quality was amazing. And that's more than me just making a buck, you know?
How are you able to build that culture? Like with the contractors,
right?
Because I feel like sometimes a lot of like people care about the looks,
yes,
like the finished product, and sometimes like they lack on the quality of like building the things that nobody can see. So how are you able to keep that culture of everybody having the same mission and everybody having such a great like they focusing in excellence?
Yeah, it's a really good question because we've had this discussion before. We're a younger company, like I'm not that I'm like super young, but I'm 41 and Brian's 40. And so we're a younger company. And because of that, I think we bring a different energy. We bring a different perspective. In the olden days, or even some of the older companies, they're very, very harsh. It's very like, I call them pirates. Like everybody just screams at each other, yelling at each other, cussing at each other. And that's not who we are as a company, It's about really respecting each other, building a really good values within your team, and making sure everybody respects each other, they listen to each other, and making sure you have the right people, And that's I have a gift of making sure that I have a really good team because I can sense people's personalities, and I want to make sure anybody that's on our team represents our values and represents our work ethic. We want to be a hardworking company, but with good values. And so for me, taking the approach of construction in a different manner, with the same expectations, having a high quality, going fast, but doing it in an effective manner, using the technology that we have nowadays and just doing things differently and not just screaming and yelling and kicking things all day. Like, I feel like building that culture has really helped us.
That's awesome because it's very, very hard
to
build that. Yeah, and more when you have like higher standards and you pride that a lot. I saw that you also is in your website. I was like fascinated because I have to pull it up.
Yeah.
Because you guys, 2 things. I want to know about like the kingdom process.
Mm-hmm.
And also I saw that you you guys pride yourself in 100% satisfaction, which is a very, very bold statement
Very bold.
to say.
And to be honest with you, a lot, some of our, I should say a lot, there are some clients who don't like us. But you know what? That's okay. That's part of the world. But at the end of the day, even if they don't like us, we still finish the project exactly the standards that we expect of ourselves. 100% done, quality perfect, and really just leveling up. And so when we talk to our clients, I'll look them in the eye and I'll say, I promise you I'll finish that project. Even if I have to do whatever it takes to make sure it's done right, I will lose as much money as possible to make sure it's done right, because there's nothing worse than knowing that a client spent a lot of money and we left them hanging. So I will never let that happen.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
how do you avoid that when you're losing? Because everybody likes to have profits from a product. How do you, how are you able to keep moving forward in a project when you're like bleeding money, what is the mindset behind it?
Yeah, it's a great question. We even have one right now ongoing where we've lost money on the project. We're not doing very well on the project when it came to our estimating, but we have a lot of times we'll have to just eat it, and you have to just take the punches in the face and realize, we're going to get through this and we're going to be better on the next one. And that's the only mindset you have to have, because you don't want to let people down when it comes to those things. Again, we're not perfect. There's sometimes where we do miss things. There's sometimes where we did miss a cabinet in this one room, and so we need to make up on that and ask the clients, hey, unfortunately, this wasn't in the scope, and we try to minimize that as much as possible. But that stuff will happen, and that's part of construction. But to limit it and to be completely honest and transparent about things, it's very helpful to make sure that the clients trust you throughout the process. So, yeah, it's one of those things where 100% satisfaction. And what I mean by that is we're going to make sure that project is finished 100% to our quality standard. Now, sometimes it's messy to get there, but we're going to get there.
Has it ever happened that during a project, clients are not happy because they are having a lack of communication from your team?
Yeah, that happens sometimes, and that's why it's a good question, because we actually implemented about a year ago a new process and system about this, because communication is everything, right?
Yeah.
And so what we'll do is we have our customers, it's really neat. They have a portal that they sign on to, and it's updated every day. So they can see how much money's owed left on the project. They can see what's been going on, all the challenges going on. There's updated pictures. So there's daily updated pictures on progress. So a lot of our clients that we work with are out of town.
Yeah.
So they can go to their portal and they can see all that information. And then the customer meets with our superintendents once a week to walk the project, show all the things that have been updated, things that we're going to do next week. And then from there, we have these, we call them milestone meetings, where we meet with the clients and go through, all right, here's where all the light switches go. Are you happy with that? All right, we're going to do this, this, and this. And they make sure that everybody's on the same page. So we have a lot of meetings with our clients, and daily updates and text messages and weekly meetings. So since we've been doing that for the last year, our communication has been off the charts, and our clients have been super happy about that.
That is so awesome, because and more when you are out of state, you like to see the process on the work.
Right.
I feel like as a customer, I can be very, very picky,
right,
because I like to know everything that is happening,
yes,
and I also want to make sure that everything is getting done. So it's nice that you offer that.
Yeah, and I tell my guys all the time, I say, hey, even on these daily updates, it's okay to let people know things are going wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Hey, unfortunately, the tile guy didn't show up today. I followed up with them. I don't know why he's not here. That's construction,
Yeah.
And so we'll let them know, unfortunately, it's going to push our project another week, At least the clients know ahead of time, rather than going, hey, I forgot to tell you, but 3 weeks ago, the tile guy didn't show up, and now we're going to have to push the project 2 weeks. And people are like, why didn't you just tell me that earlier? So for us, daily updates, weekly meetings, and then having those milestone meetings have just really satisfied our clients' needs.
I think that helps. It's always better. It's always good to have no update, but to tell the client, hey, there is no update, then just going blank, because then the client start getting nervous.
Right. And it's funny, actually I'll tell you this story real quick, because what happened was I had those meetings I just told you about, but we also said, hey, and also I want you to daily text message your clients. And so we were over communicating at one point. I'm like, our clients were like, hey, I don't need to know every day. Calm down. I'll look at the portal. Or we were starting to realize that we were over communicating. And I'm like, okay, now we can dial it back a little bit. We don't need to text them every day. We can just update the portal. We can meet with them once a week and give them a little bit of space. But I would extreme, because I wanted to make sure the clients were happy. And it got kicked back a little bit of hey, I think we're over communicating a little bit. So that's a good problem to have, I guess.
It is. It is. I love that you really care so much about every single aspect of the company, and that it just feels like a family. You just want to focus like everybody is happy. How are you able to implement that like in your personal life? Because it sounds like you are very, very busy and involved
Yes.
in the work process. How that affects like your life? Like how let me just formulate that better. Like,
Yeah.
how are you able to balance both, like being the CEO of the company and being like the father of the family, you know?
Yeah, so I have 4 daughters, and it's really easy because I have 4 daughters and a beautiful wife, and they boss me around. So when I go home, I'm their employee, and they boss me around because if anybody knows, if they have, I'm a girl dad. So, but no, that's a joke. But honestly, it's really hard because the reality of life is, and my wife will tell you this straight hand, I'm always thinking about the next step. I love the game of chess. I play speed chess all the time when I'm bored. And I'm always trying to think 2 or 3 moves ahead. And so it's hard for me not to be in the moment because I'm always thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. I'll be in the shower going, I bet we can do this better. Or, hey, I wonder what's going on with this project. I bet we can do this, this. And so I'm always trying to think things through so that we can try to be better at everything, And so it's really hard to turn off. And it's one of those things I'm still working on.
Yeah.
But I just noticed that, like, just being with your family, I'd play a lot of pickleball. I spend a lot of time with my friends, and we always make sure, like, my wife and I go on every Friday night. We always go on date night. So there's certain things that keep me grounded because it is really, and any business owner can relate, but like, it's hard not to just be completely engulfed. And it's funny because it's not about the money. It's about just being great at what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's more than anything that I don't really care about the money. I do obviously want to make money, but it's more about establishing a legacy of greatness, So
Where you want to take Kindo & Co?
it's a really good question. So we've actually gone to the point now where I at first I was like, I want to grow this company huge. I wanted to, we want to be the next Blue Heron. And we got to the point where we're like, actually I don't want to be the next Blue Heron. What I would like to be is we want to be the boutique builder. So I want to be able to do, 6 to 7 new builds a year rather than 15 or 20. I want to do 20 high-end remodels a year. I want to do, those are the type of things we want to do. So we actually want to just slow it down a little bit, be more selective of the clients we want to work with, and slow down a little bit to become even better, if that makes sense. So the goal for Kingdom & Co. is to really just become that boutique. I wanted to know my customers. I want to develop relationships with our customers. I want our customers to have a great experience and not feel like they're just another number. So for us, the goal for Kingdom & Co. is just to become an elite boutique builder. That's the ultimate goal.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
You talk a lot about legacy. What is the legacy that you want to leave your daughters?
Yeah, it's a great question. The legacy I want my daughters to understand is I want them to know that their dad worked really hard. I want them to know that I cared about people. I want them to know that I cared about quality and that I wanted to build something and do something beautiful and great. I want them to understand that, like, it's more than the money. It's way more than money. Money is just the thing that comes, but it comes down to really just being proud of what you do. And and they'll joke around. I'm like, I'll drive around, and my dad used to do this with me. Hey, I built a house in that area, or look at this house here. Look at that. You see that mountain up there? We built 3 houses. Like just really driving around town and always talking about the things that you build. And I know they're annoyed now, but when they get older, when I'm not here anymore, they'll always appreciate
They will
those
appreciate
things.
it.
Yeah.
I think that is like so beautiful in the fact that you are focusing in a smaller scale, but doing that very, very good is very important because a lot of people just want to keep making money and money and money.
Right.
And then, they started to become wealthier, but the quality is like reducing. So it's nice that you're focusing in a smaller scale and giving your daughters that message.
That's the ultimate goal, right? Because I'm a very ambitious person. I love sports. I love, I was idolized Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant growing up, and just really loving to set goals and pushing myself. But there comes a point where you're like, okay, when is enough enough?
Yeah.
Where's the balance in life? And I always joke to people, there's no such thing as balance. It's just about making sure you put your priorities in line. Making sure your family's first, making sure God's first. And then my belief is that if you put those things first, everything else works out. And that's been my story so far. So.
That's awesome. Do you used to practice any sports?
Oh yeah, I used to play basketball and volleyball. Those are my 2 big time sports. And so, I was pretty good in high school playing basketball, and in volleyball we won a state championship with my team, my buddies. So those are the sports I could jump really high when I was young, And now I do CrossFit and I do pickleball. Those are my two hobbies now.
Pickleball is becoming like so popular
I'm
lately.
obsessed. I'm obsessed with pickleball. I love it so much just because getting, like when you get to your 40s now, you're like, I still want to be competitive and still want to get some exercise, but I don't want to play basketball. Basketball's super hard on your body. And so I found a sport where I can be super competitive and I can enjoy it. And then I realized there's a huge community and it's like, oh my gosh, these are my people. So it's a lot of fun.
There is another sport that is similar to pickleball that I really need to practice because everybody just keeps talking about it. It's like pedal.
Uh-huh.
It's like pickleball, but a lot of people say it's like funner than pickleball.
I've never heard of it. I got to try it then.
Yes, it's like I need to try pickleball and I need to try that one because here in Vegas it's becoming so popular.
Well, I always joke. I'm like pickleball's like a cheat code because when I first started playing, I'm like, this is dumb. Like, what are we doing? Then all of a sudden you realize it's like a chess game, and I'm like, oh, I love chess. So you start realizing there's a chess game to it, and then all of a sudden you'll play for 2 or 3 hours,
and you don't even notice.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my gosh, I burnt 1,200 calories. And I was having fun. It's like a cheat code, So I always joke that, like, even though pickleball it seems silly, it's actually a lot of fun and it's good exercise. So,
if you will describe like your life, I always love to asking these questions to like friends because it helps me like get to know like them a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to call yourself as a movie, what movie would it be?
Right. Let's see here.
Like, describe your life as a movie.
That's a good question. It's so funny because I could combine it into like it'd be a comedy, it'd be a rom-com, it would be a gladiator movie, all based in the one, like just because I felt like that's why. Like I like to have fun, I joke around a lot, I can get really intense, and then at the same time I love like being the hero at the end. I love being the hero. I've always grown up idolizing heroes, and so in my mind I think I am one, even though I'm probably not. And so I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know that answer. That's a really good question.
Who is your favorite hero?
Probably Jesus. For sure.
I love
Jesus
that.
is the best. He's the one that, because the reason why I like Jesus' story so much is he came to this earth. He was born in humble circumstances. He didn't grow up with money, didn't grow up with status. He kind of went against the government and the preachers against his own religion. And he kind of stood up to authority.
Yeah.
And he was the underdog. And at the end of the day, I believe that he overcame all those things and showed us the way to live. You can be kind and loving and peaceful, but also have, go against the grain a little bit and go against people who are corrupt and not being scared to go after those people. And so I think that's really, his story is such an underdog story. So I love underdog stories,
Yes. And I think I used to go to Bible study. I need to go back to it.
Uh-huh.
But I learned so much. I feel like a lot of like people has found a way to describe Jesus' story in a way that is very easy to understand to nowadays.
Yeah.
And the like younger people can relate. Like
Absolutely.
there is a story that I love so much about it, and it's like when Jesus cured the blind lady.
Yeah.
And he was criticized because he didn't force her. He asked her to walk with the mat that she was laying on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people was judging him.
Right.
Why? And it's because he wanted her to show the proof of like, if you believe in him, like that's the proof, like he can heal you.
Right. And people are like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to do that on the Sabbath day. That's the wrong. And it's like that was the point. He really pushed back on the stupid rules of authoritative leaders, right? Like that make no sense. And so I love that he was a rule breaker. He broke rules and he was willing to go through. And then he said extreme things like, pray for your enemies.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Who prays for their enemies? But what happens when you pray for your enemies is it changes the way you perceive things, and your heart changes, and suddenly your enemies maybe soften up towards you. But so a lot of the things that he teaches, even if people don't believe in Jesus as like a savior, but like him as a teacher, there's so many cool principles that he was able to teach that to me are so profound. So to me, that's my ultimate hero for sure.
That is so awesome that you put it that way. Have always your faith been this strong? Like,
Yeah.
Have you ever like doubted?
You know what? That's a great question. You know what? When I was a teenager, I ended up going on a mission for my church. I served in Philadelphia. And in that moment, it comes down to like when you start, like when you're a 19-year-old kid and you're like, oh my gosh, looking around and you're like, this is the real world. Like I don't have my mommy and daddy and you start looking around, what you start doing is you ask a lot of questions. What really is happiness?
Yeah.
What brings people happiness? And when I was realizing that, I was going into homes that were multi-million-dollar homes, visiting with people who were miserable. and talking to them, and they're going through divorces, and this guy cheated on me, and this, and that everything's about money, and focus is there. And then you'd be in these humble circumstances. Like there's these refugees from Liberia, Africa, who just got here, who was in the middle of a civil war, and who were just grateful to have a home, and who had such belief in God, and had nothing, but they were so much happier than everybody else. And so for me, it was really neat to see the differences as a 19-year-old kid who grew up in a privileged situation, going, wow, this really does bring happiness. So for me, it was such an easy testimony to me to realize I know what brings happiness and joy, and that's by living the gospel and being kind to people and loving each other and praying for your enemies and really being there for people and being selfless. And that's what brings joy to this earth, you know? So that's kind of what some principles I learned as a young kid. So that's a good question, though. Have I ever doubted? Absolutely. When my brother passed away, you start questioning everything. Yeah. Is this life real? Is Jesus really real? Those are things that you start asking yourself because he's gone. And those were really hard times for me. But at the end of the day, I've really stayed strong to that and know what I know, you know?
Yeah, something like that happened to me. So when I was 17 years old, if I'm not mistaken, my aunt, like she was like my sister, she passed away from cancer. Like she had previously like 3 times cancer, and she passed away. And I cannot explain you the amount of like faith I had. And I was like praying every night to Jesus to heal her.
Right.
And like she ended up passing away and I couldn't understand why. And then I built like so much resentment.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I had the faith. I believed.
Dude, like you're supposed to like heal people,
right.
You know? Why you didn't? So my mom, I always like have care for people. Like I have like this thing that sometimes, I don't know, it's like natural to me.
Yeah, I love that.
So my mom called me one day and he was like, hey, this weekend they are doing like this event and it's for you to stay in an older I don't know how is it called like in English, but it's pretty much like where the like grandpas and grandmas are that they don't have families.
Right.
So my mom was like, you can stay there and help them on the weekend, you know, would you like to go? And I was like, oh, sure, let's go.
Yeah.
Little did I know it was like a retreat. And I cannot explain you how much that retreat like changed me.
Right.
Because I got to understand that sometimes you can be praying for something so much, but maybe that outcome that happened was what you needed to happen. You know, it helped me understand that Jesus, like God, I talked to God.
Yeah,
he took with him my aunt in order for her to like finally heal. That the only way for her to have peace, it was to be with him, because here in earth, like she was like suffering so much.
Right.
So I learned so much from it.
It's funny you said you remind me of something that we were talking. I was talking with one of my employees the other day about because we were talking about loss a little bit, and there's a story about this guy. It's funny how we were almost turning this into a spiritual podcast. I love it, but there's a story of this guy who it happened in Las Vegas. He accidentally ran over his son. He was under the car and he didn't know that. He backed up and just ran over his kid and killed him immediately. You know. And he had this experience where he's like, I just know, like I was devastated. I mean, obviously, if that happened to me, I don't even know how you recover, right? And he's like, I went to God in prayer and I said, Lord, I want you to remove this from me. Like I am having so much pain. And the answer that he got, I thought was so profound. And he got this answer, like a spiritual answer that came back from the Lord that said, if I remove this pain from you, then I'm going to have to remove all your memories and all your love that you have for this kid. And then the guy was like, I'll deal with the pain, because I would give anything to have those memories. And I thought, what a powerful moment of like experience of like when you're going through suffering like that, it's tied to love, it's tied to experiences, and so you can't have one without the other. And I thought that was such a powerful moment for me. So that really, when my brother passed away, I remember like that pain is connected to the love, and you want that. So embrace the pain, because that means you had that love, and that's just the way it is. And it's like, I thought that was a really profound moment for me. And I was talking to this girl about that because she had some loss in her life. And I was like, and when I said that to her, it hit her hard. And I'm like, it's such a good principle to learn. So anyways, so a lot of good topics I'll talk about on that stuff. But
it is. It's very, I love that you brought that up, because I feel like so many people needs to hear that, because sometimes we just focus on the pain, and like if you remove like the whole entire person, like in order to avoid the pain, it's like no, like it's sometimes a lot of people sometimes ask that if you were to live in somebody else's life, would you change it?
I know. Would you?
I feel like no.
Yeah.
Like even though that sometimes people can be like wealthier, people can be better looking, people can live in better circumstances. Like
Right.
nobody life is perfect. And I feel like the family that I have like the God have like chosen for me, it's just I just couldn't change it.
Yeah, your experience is for you.
Yeah.
And that's easy to say for me, but like if I was like, there's some people who are born in really bad circumstances and who've been abused growing up, and I can understand where they would come from if they would change it in a heartbeat. But at the same time, those experiences that they had can make them so powerful if they can allow it to let them. It's hard, but that's hard. It's harder to say than done because I've never had that happen to me, but I can understand those circumstances.
Yeah. Do you think your circumstances define who you are?
No, I think the way you handle your circumstances are, right. Like at the end of the day, everybody's given certain things, and it's just how do you handle it, and that's truly who you are, and that's hard to say because there's times where I wish I could change the way I reacted to certain things, but really what it comes down to is who you really are is the way you handle circumstances. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
There is this saying that is like, it's not what happened to you, it's what you do with what happened to you.
Right.
So
I like that.
I always try to like focus on that. It's just, I just love it. How is being like a father of four girls like change you?
Oh, it's completely changed me. Like I'm a guy, guy. Like I want to, I have a bunch of, we built like 7 homes on our street. And so we have like 40 kids in our neighborhood now. And they just run wild. And all the boys in my neighborhood, I always pretend they're my sons. So I'll play video games with them or go take them out to get chicken wings every now and then. But I wouldn't have it any different from having my 4 daughters. They have changed, they've molded me into the person I needed to become because having girls just on every level, they're just I tell everybody they're the best because everything that they do is I don't know how to explain it. Like it's just they're pure, they're loving, there's unconditional love there, and they teach me so much patience and so much love and really understanding things from a different perspective. Because again, I grew up with 2 older brothers. I had a little sister, but she was just like us,
Yeah.
And so being surrounded by all these women have really changed my course on life and really looking at things through a perspective of how women look at things and how I need to protect them and how I need to provide for them and how important that is for them. Like those are things I will really want to make sure that I do for them. And so for me, like having all girls is just that, and then I'm hoping in return, I always joke, I'm hoping in return they take care of me when I get older. That's all I can hope for. Because I'll need them too because I'm a baby when I'm sick and stuff. So that would be very helpful. But yeah, I love it so much. It's the best thing ever.
I'm sure they will take care of you. I am wondering, what is like the biggest lesson your daughter have taught you?
I think the biggest of the purpose. There's I don't know, like a lot of times you look at the purpose of life and you're like, what is the purpose of life? And for me, it's about taking care of other people. And what other gift to teach you about the purpose of life than having kids and having to be able to provide for them and protect them and care for them and struggle with them and go through the mistakes of being a parent, making mistakes here and there. But just really, they mold you into but true joy. I don't think you can have true joy unless you have children, because they are the definition of the purpose, So to me, they've taught me everything. That'd be the answer.
How like I am very interested in asking you this question because my husband and I, we go back and forth of having babies, and sometimes I am like I have a baby fever, I want a baby, but I love my sleep so much, and I am so focused so much in my career,
Right?
That how was your life before having kids, and how having kids like change it?
So that's a really good question because my challenge to you and what I would say is when you have kids, they only make you stronger, and you'll realize you'll laugh at yourself because when you start having kids, you somehow find the time to make everything happen. It's almost like a faith promoting thing. Like it doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math. I tell everybody that when you have kids, the math doesn't math. They're expensive. They're exhausting. They're everything. But what they do is they turn you into an individual that you never thought you could. You never knew the things you could do until you have kids. They push you to the extreme level of love, the extreme level of hard work, the extreme level of realigning your life of priorities. Because at the end of the day, I tell everybody, like, what's the point? What's the purpose of life? And to me, it's about taking care of other people, loving other people. And there's no better way of doing that than having kids, right? Like when you look back in this life, when you're older, you look back and you'll never. I always lived this life. When my brother passed away, I always had this mindset of like, I just don't want to have any more regrets. So I literally did everything that I thought I needed to do going forward. And I'm like, you'll never regret having kids. You will regret not having kids. And so that's the way to look at it, is like you'll look back and you will really regret your life if you don't have kids, just because it's an opportunity for you to develop and grow yourself and to contribute to society. And I hear people, well, I don't want to raise my kids into society. Well, make this society better through your kids. That's my whole point, is like if we have a group of people who love their children, who focus on sacrificing and loving other people and doing things that aren't for themselves, then true joy and happiness and purpose just explode. So
that is so beautiful. I feel like your daughters are going to be so happy when they hear that, because I think the way that you just describe it, like I couldn't stop smiling, because it's a beautiful way to see, like, to one, talk about your kids, and to two, talk about how beautiful they transform like your life. Because as I say, like, I don't have kids, so I don't know. I can only focus in like the unknowing, you know, but putting it in the perspective that you just described it, it's just so beautiful, because like I can visualize it and feel it.
Well, it's funny you say, because like a lot of our designers recently have had kids, and one of our designers, she's one of my favorites. She had her first kid, and she's older. She's around 40, and it's just so neat to see the transformation of her, and how much more mature she's become. And again, she was really worried about, because she's a very career-driven person. And she was really worried about, how am I going to make this work? And I'm like, listen, it always just works out. I don't know why or how, it just does. So anything you do that's right, that does good, everything will just work out. And so everything's obviously worked out, and she's killing it again, and she's back with us again full time, and she's loving her life at home, she's loving her life at work, and she just seems happier than ever before. So it's really cool to see.
That is just so happy. So amazing. Before we go to the rapid fire question, you talk about not having regrets. Is there something that you haven't done? Or is there something that you have done that you regret doing it?
You know, that's a good question. My biggest fear right now that I have for regrets is engulfing myself too much in my career right now, and not giving the time, and not just the time, because I give my kids time, but real thoughtful time, right?
Quality time.
When you're really there, you know, the phone's not texting, and you're not thinking about 400 other things. Like, so my biggest fear is that I'm going to look back and regret not giving my girls 1,000% more. And I think that's every parent that's going to have that mindset. And so I'm just hoping that I won't allow that to intrude on my like social media. People are like, oh, I love social media. I love everything about it. I love all the communication and the inspiration and the funny thing. There's so much that comes good from it. So I worry that will take me away from my attention to my family. So I need to have stronger boundaries. You know, every now and then I'll delete everything, or I'll just put it on my iPad. So my biggest fear of regret is not giving my kids and my wife the attention they deserve. That's my biggest regret that I have in my heart, that could possibly be the case. I'm like this all the time when it comes to it. So if I was going to look back at my life right now and think, okay, what's the one thing that I would probably regret? It'll end up being spending too much time on my screens, or not giving my kids or my wife the attention they deserved. And that's my biggest fear at the moment. And hopefully not all regret, but that'd be it for me.
Yeah, I think when you have kids, that puts a lot into perspective. As I say, I don't have kids, I have dogs. And with my dogs, I can totally like see it. Like, one of them is like getting older.
Yeah.
And there is this thing about dogs that you know that they won't be here for a long time.
Oh yeah, dogs are
like
the best.
They have a very like short life.
They're a reminder, because you only get them for like between 8 to 13 years or whatever it is. And so they're always a reminder of life and cycles of life. Because we have a puppy that one of our favorite dogs is about to go to. He's like 13 or 14. So he's barely surviving. And it's just a reminder of life. Like, you're like, oh man, like we're going to miss him for sure. And so that's how life works, right? Like, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I need to take him out more. I need to go do this with him. I should probably take him out to the park more, whatever it may be. But like, that's always the fear, right? For me, like, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I don't regret a lot of my mistakes. You know, there's obviously things I've made mistakes on, but because that's how you learn in life and grow. But like, the mistake I will regret is if I don't give my kids time because I was on Instagram too long. Like that to me would be a major regret. You're like, what the
Yeah.
hell was I thinking? You know? So those are the type of things that like I do fear, and I hope I don't regret, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me just pop into the
Yep.
rapid fire questions. So
Uh-huh.
these ones are like kind of quick. So what is one non-negotiable part of your morning routine that keeps you sharp?
Ooh, good question. Scripture study.
What?
Scripture study.
Okay.
Non-negotiable for me
Every morning.
every morning.
The first thing that you wake up?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of the Bible?
Really, that's a good question. I would say, I don't know. That's a really good question. I would say, just the way it builds faith, just the way it builds your like excitement in life. Like to me, it's like just when you read the scriptures and you make them come alive, they're exciting. And if you're not, if the gospel's not exciting, then you're doing it wrong, right? It's got to be like,
Yeah.
it hypes me up. So I'd say
Yeah.
all of it, like just as long as it hypes me up, you know?
You feel good.
Yeah.
That is I need to start doing that. Like I had the Bible app, and every morning like it sends you like a message, you know, and I think sometimes those messages speak to you. Truly,
Yes.
you are like,
Oh, every time.
God, like
Every time.
you knew. What is one reason renovations go over budget?
Ambition. So there's a lot of times that goes through like, hey, they have this vision that's just super expensive, and it's just the materials. It's usually where the materials cost so much money. So just ambition on materials, and just being over ambitious. That's mainly the biggest thing, is having a big appetite and not willing to compromise.
On that.
Yeah.
What is one leadership lesson one of your daughters have taught you?
Obviously patience. Number one, patience. Like that is the ultimate thing for me. Is just children especially will teach you patience for sure.
A lot, huh?
Yeah.
What is one book every entrepreneur should read?
Ooh, that's a good one. Man, that's a good one. I like How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a really good one.
That is a really good book.
I'm actually making my daughter read that one right now.
That is.
She's reading all these like books, and I'm like, no, we need to read like a business book that like it will influence you, because she's 14, still struggling with learning how to communicate, and,
Yeah.
And so that would be to me that'd be a really good one to start off on. But there's so many good ones depending on what business you're in and things like that. But that'd be mine.
I really think that is a pretty good book. I read The Power of One More by A. Milet.
Yeah, I've never read that one. I've heard that's a really good one.
And he was talking about that book that you mentioned. Is amazing.
There we go. Yeah. So
I just started reading it. It's just like, for me, it's a little bit, I need to put more effort.
it's old school. For
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
But it's a pretty good book for sure.
Right.
What's the biggest mistake people make when building a casita?
Biggest mistake that people build businesses is downplaying the cost before construction starts. So the architectural plans, the engineering, the civil engineering, the cost for permits, just all the things that cost before you even start building it, And that goes back to like some contractors will be like, yeah, I can build for $150 a square foot, but they don't factor all those other costs, and it ends up being $250 a square foot, So that to me is just downplaying. We call them the pre-construction costs.
Okay. That's good to know. And what is the most expensive lesson that you have learned? It can be financially, time, quality, personal, business.
I would say financially, the biggest lesson I've learned in my career at this moment is just being over ambitious and growing too fast. Growing too fast we did that with Kingdom and Company, and it really hurt us because you lose quality, you lose control, you lose so much, and you lose money at the same time. So it costs everything. It costs emotions, energy, struggle, cash flow issues. So being over ambitious and trying to grow too fast was one of the biggest problems and mistakes that we made. And that was about 2 or 3 years ago. And since then, we've really dialed it back, and it's just been so much better. So that'd be a lesson for anybody who's looking to start a business or anything like that. Ambition is great because you need it, but you can be over ambitious and you can really hurt yourself if you're not careful.
Yeah, that sometimes is so hard.
Yeah, it's so
like
hard.
It's something that I am practicing on right now, because I am seeing that goal, and I see it, I can feel it, I can taste it. I want to get there like this, but also errors happens,
Errors happen. Yep.
when you go like that.
100%.
If somebody wants to work like with you and your company in Kindo and Co, how can they contact you?
The easiest way is just call us or text us or whatever. So that you can get our information from Instagram. You can get it from our website at kingdomandco.com and really just reach out to us. And I like, it's funny because we have a portal where you can put in your information, all that stuff. And a lot of people like that, but I hate that. You know why? Because I'm like, if somebody's going to spend a lot of money with us, they should be able to make a phone call. Somebody actually picks the phone call up, sets up an appointment with one of our product directors, and they can actually talk to people and fill people and understand that we care about them, because at the end of the day, we really care about our people. You know, it's what they do is it's expensive. Building a house or doing a remodel is expensive, and I want to make sure they're treated like humans, and that you're not talking to a robot, and then we'll get to you when we can. And it's like, I want them to understand that we really do care, and we're going to schedule them as fast as possible. And I want them to talk to humans right away. If that makes sense.
I think with AI, a lot of people is craving like the human touch, because every time you call a company, it's like, it's weird. That it's like a voicemail, So it's nice that you're able to provide that service, because sometimes we do want to talk to humans, you know?
If you're about to spend $500,000, can I talk to somebody can I actually talk to a human? So if you're going to spend that much money, you need to make sure you're having that experience. And so hopefully we're giving that experience. We're answering the phone right away. We're settling up on a consultation visit and getting them locked in and loaded. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so excited. I truly enjoyed the conversation. I think we touched like different points.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see Kindo & Co. like growing and see what this year is. We're in 2026. I cannot wait to see what this year has to bring for you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on. It was fun. And it's funny how the conversations just went all over the place. And I love that. It's fun.
It did. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this episode. You can find Lincoln's information as well as Kindo & Co. link below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and let me know in the comments who you would like me to invite next. Thank you so much. See you next time.